We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Hearts of Men podcast, hosted by the community. We're your hosts for this evening's conversation. My name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach, and I am joined by my brothers up top. First, we have Mr. Roland Walker, also known as Poor Man's Dr. Phil, Mr. Shift Happens. And right beside him, we have my other brother, Mr. Garfield Martin himself, the Uncle Junior, the consistency coach. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this fine Friday evening?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the conversation this evening.
Definitely. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad we're on the panel and ready to get it started because this is something that, a lot of people, I don't know, this might trigger some thought.
That's a trigger.
Not the trigger. Listen, as always, man, it's good to spend time with you guys on this Friday evening, just like it is, and I'm always I look forward to spending time with the people that are in the chat because we greatly appreciate you. So that being said, good to see you, Michelle Ray, Nick D, good to see you. Miss Adrian Walthout, good to see you. Let's see, Lisa Keys, good to see you. Neat N. Ellis, good to see you. Miss Verlene McCoy, good to see you. What's going on, Shell? Good to see you and welcome to the show. And listen, if there is anybody else, well, I'm a mute you for a second, bro. If there's anybody else out there who is joining us and have not had the opportunity to get in the chat, by all means, get in the chat and acknowledge your presence so that we can address you because we love doing that on this platform here. Also, if this is your first time joining us and you're on YouTube, look in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, find the YouTube symbol, put your cursor over it. It's going to be a flyout. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Do not forget to hit that notification button because that notification button will allow you to know every time that we go live, but only if you click the drop down and select all right beside it. Listen, I think we're just going to go ahead and jump into this conversation. What y'all think? Let's do it, man. Let's do it. I'm ready. All right. Before we get started, this is definitely one that I need to say, right? Before we get started, listen, everybody here on this platform, on this channel, ever, I don't care, anytime y'all see us on here, we are subject matter experts of our own perspective. I want to make sure I'm saying that. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you have to agree with what anybody is saying. That's okay. In fact, I have a motto, like I don't say what I say for people to agree. I just say it for them to consider. And I think when we look at things from that perspective, we can learn something outside of what we know. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and dive right into this conversation. So, have you ever doubted your own memory or feelings because someone told you were wrong? Better yet, how often have you found yourself questioning your reality due to someone else's words? Welcome to The Truth Behind Gaslighting, where we dive deep into the shadows of manipulation to illuminate a path towards understanding, healing, and empowerment. In today's conversation, we aim to peel back the layers of this complex phenomenon, exploring its origins, signs, and the profound impact that it has on individuals and their relationships. We'll also tackle the crucial strategies for recognizing, confronting, and healing from gaslighting, offering insights and advice for those who have found themselves lost in its maze. Through our exploration, we seek not just to inform, but to empower our listeners with the knowledge and tools needed to navigate the murky waters of manipulation, from understanding the subtle signs to rebuilding trust in one's own perception. Our journey today promises to shed light on the darkest corners of gaslighting, offering a beacon of hope for those seeking to reclaim their truth. Join us as we embark on this important conversation. Let us begin. So, I'm going to put it out there. I just want you guys to kind of give me your perspective as it pertains to this particular question, right? Because I think this is a great place to start. And I want us, you guys know how I do. I like to unpack this. So, in your opinion, let's start with the first part. What exactly is gaslighting? Let's just clear the air right now. What is gaslighting?
Well, gaslighting is a form of mental manipulation that would make one think that what they know is fact or their perception is false by what you changing it up. See, some people are smooth with words, are articulate enough to make people think that what they saw really wasn't what they saw. Remember, there was a song, I think it was Shaggy, and his girl caught him cheating, and he made a whole song about it. Wasn't me. When she caught me in the shower, it wasn't me. When she saw me in everything, she saw him everywhere, but it wasn't me. And a lot of men have used that tactic when it comes to playing on the heartstrings of women, and that's just one form of it, where it's a mental thing. You like Eddie Murphy said, "Who you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes?" And that's just one form.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I don't know. I am still trying to figure it out. I have been hearing this term so much. I don't really remember hearing this term honestly until the last couple of years or so. Like I didn't grow up hearing this term. I don't ever remember hearing this term when I was in the military for 20 years. So for me, it's a new term. We were talking back behind the stage, and I think it was Roland said that I probably already know what it is, but I probably just haven't connected the dots and maybe have a great example to kind of really make me understand. So I'm really looking forward to that part of it because I really want to be able to add something to this because I keep hearing it gaslight, gaslight, gaslight. Every time somebody on social media is having a conversation, someone else is in the comments talking about, oh, they gaslighting and stuff like this. But I never really took the time to try to figure out what it is. So I am really, glad and excited about this topic tonight. And I'm like, Coach, I'm ready to unpack this thing, so because I'm hoping that I connect the dot so I can add some value to the conversation.
Hold up. Coach. You a country boy. And I know in the country, one of the phrases that they use instead of gaslighting was, don't monkey me. You ain't never heard that? It's a country in the sticks of Texas that, they say don't monkey me. When you trying to play on their mind, on their psyche to have them believe something that goes against what they actually see it is. They'll say, don't monkey me.
I ain't never heard that one. But hey, look, I ain't in charge of the platform, but I'm gonna say, look, if you in a chat, if you have a term that they use in the South or the North, I'm from Virginia, or anywhere else like that is relatable to gaslighting, please put it in the chat and please let me know.
Look here, man. I'm from the South, and I ain't never heard "Don't Monkey Me." But listen,
yeah, I ain't never heard
that. Listen, though, let's kind of peel back because Roland, you kind of said some things here, right? And I like the fact that you brought up the whole Eddie Murphy concept. Who you gonna trust, me or your lying eyes? I like the fact that you say that it's a concept to where a person will challenge your perception. And y'all know me, words mean things, right? And so, but you also mentioned a lot of men do it. Okay. A couple of things I want to kind of make, kind of baseline across the board. How can I, if you don't mind helping us to understand that, how can a person like contort the information? That's kind of like what I'm going to say, contort the information to question my perception, if you will.
When, as a person who I've considered myself a master manipulator, I did. When I feel myself getting caught up in the fight or flight responses come for me, it was always, okay, how can I get myself out of this situation? Because they don't have necessary, they caught me red-handed, but they didn't catch me red-handed. So how can I twist this, turn it against them to where they say, hold up, to where you almost change the narrative of the whole situation to focus on something else. And it's an easy thing to do when you are maneuvering in deception and deceit. And when it comes to, you see a lot of politicians use this. You can walk outside and see what's going on, but yet they tell you, oh, everything's getting better and yada yada. You look like, how's it getting better? I'm looking outside my door every day, and yet the news is telling me how good it is over in this area and how how it's being built up. Maybe built up downtown, but they spread that narrative out to the whole instead of just to, they make one portion of it the whole of it.
Gotcha. So, so in other words, they're seeking to take your version of the evidence and try to manipulate what you're thinking about the evidence in order for you to believe something different. So it ain't as bad as you think it is, or it's it may not. That's not what. I understand what you see, but that's not really what it is. That's what I'm hearing you saying, and I'm using that lightly.
Yes, because it's like a few years ago, it was a big push on politicians saying black on black crime. Yeah, it's black on black crime, it's white on white crime. But see, when I change that and push it out and consistently push it, saying black on black crime, now you think that the people that are against you just look like you. You think that, and that's what, when I can change the perception of how you view yourself or how you view a situation, and the reality of it, but yet you take on the likeness of what I'm saying. Now you saying, yeah, because when I go outside, I see who's against me. It has everything to do about who you live in proximity with. Nothing to do with skin color, but it has to do with demographics. That's it. So, but I can change that narrative and I can push that to get my agenda pushed. So now when you're thinking I need protection, you've heard black on black crime so much that, yeah, because these black people out here trying to steal from me. And when you watch TV, you see it. When you listen to the radio, you hear it. So now perception twists the way you see the very people that you walk every day with.
Okay, I like that you went there. Oh, you mentioned that. I don't know if you don't mind. Yeah, you mentioned that this is a term that you've started hearing over the past couple of years. If you don't mind, sharing with us, what I think is going to tie closely to something that Roland said. If you don't mind sharing with us, like, where did you hear these terms? Like, where, in what situations do you normally hear this particular term used?
I got TikTok like everybody else, and sometimes stuff pop up on my feed. It may not be as healthy for me. Sometimes it be some ratchet stuff that pop up, and it is what it is. That's my disclaimer. But sometimes stuff will pop up, and it's usually someone arguing. It's usually a man or a woman, or someone's pushing someone's buttons or something like that. So it's usually in some sort of argumentative form or fashion. And then someone will say, oh, that person is gaslighting or stuff like this. So it seems like it's always in like a negative or argumentative way when I've seen it displayed on social media.
Hmm.
I don't have a specific TikTok video or reel or anything like that I can pull up. And I guess mainly because it was just one of those words that I guess, like a lot of stuff, sometimes we'll hear like a buzzword, or a word that's been used all the time. And if we hear it enough, you'll start kind of getting an understanding of what it means without actually having to go and look for a definition. And I guess, this was kind of one of those things I thought that I was going to eventually pick it up. But fortunately, I'm getting tested on it tonight. So I didn't do any research on gaslighting. So like I said, man, I think I do know what it is, you know, and I'm just looking at it in face value, it looks like it's just pure manipulation, just like, but it seems like everything in a sense, if we put it like that, everything is gaslighting. Not everything, but a lot of stuff is. It's like,
Wait. You said what? Why'd you say that? Make that make sense. What you just said. Everything is gaslighting. What does that mean?
man, because it seems like every time you turn on the TV, it's someone that's trying to give you a perception of something, even so you'd buy something, right? They trying to tell you that, you know, the best Nike is whatever and just do it or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, are they trying to gas? I don't know. I'm learning this term. Are they trying to
Mhm.
gaslight me or trying to manipulate my mind? So when I play basketball, only thing I want to buy is this type of shoe, you know? So I'm probably way off, but you know, it seems like based off some of the definition, it's like everything is gaslighting.
I would not say that you're way off. Could you bring up Lisa's? I'm sorry, not Lisa's. Yeah, Lisa's definition. Um, the one where she talked about where the term originated from. Because I'm glad you said that you just heard of it just a few years ago, because the term came from years ago. And then when you look at this, right, this is very accurate. When you look at this, you understand that the term has been around for a long time, but you just started hearing it. And then the question has to become why? Why is this a term that we're just now hearing? It's easy to say that, oh, we're smarter now than what we were back then. Or it's easy to say that, oh, we have access to more information than what we did back then. But does that really define the why? You see what I'm saying? And it's not my job to define the why tonight. My job here is only to create awareness around it pertaining to it. Now, the key is when you look at it, I think somebody mentioned the movie. Did anybody mention the movie in the chat? Okay. If not, I got it. Don't worry about it. So, ideally, when it comes down to it, um, the term, as you just seen, came from a 1938 play Gaslight, in which a husband attempts to drive his wife crazy by dimming the light switch, which were powered by gas in their home. And then he later denies that the light changed when his wife points it out. It's an extremely effective form of emotional abuse that causes the victim to question their own feeling, instincts, and sanity. As a result, the abusive partner has a lot of power, and we know this abuse to about power and control. Indeed, once an abusive partner has broken down the victim's ability to trust their own perceptions, the victim is more likely to stay in the abusive relationship. Now, I guess my question now becomes, being that we have somewhat of a pretty decent idea of what the definition is and where it stems from in some shape, form, or fashion, because it is questioning a person's perception. And you guys know how I am, right? Nobody is absolute in any shape, form, or fashion. So if by virtue of anything that when you see reality and you only see one side of reality, is it wrong for me to question what you see? Now, I got it. There are other situations. I get it. You know, Buddy came in at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's a whole nother conversation from last week, right? But I got certain things that's totally outside of what I'm talking about in this particular scenario, because I believe a lot of times this term is used erroneously. It's just used because it's like one of those terms, you know, you use this particular term, then everything changed. It's just like saying sexual harassment. It's just like saying controlling. So are we saying that because of this term, we don't get to question reality, or we shouldn't question reality? Like Roland said, politicians put information out there. Should we not question that information so that we can have a better understanding of that information? I'm curious to your thoughts. And it's not that I'm pushing back against this term. I want to kind of unpack it totally.
Well, just right off the rip, I don't think it's wrong to question anything. I think that that's where knowledge come from. I think when you question things and then you do research or you dig a little bit deeper, you gain more of an understanding. You in return, you gain more knowledge and more information. So just on, you know, I'm gonna keep it short with that. You know, like I said, I'm still chopping away at this. So Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I think when people have factual information, dates, times, events, and everything, and one comes and says, "Oh, the Holocaust didn't really happen." Like, what? You telling me all those stamps on people and the gas chambers and where it was, that's what was that? Well, it didn't really happen like that. It's like people trying to convince you to change your mind to think like them because it benefits them. It's not merely uh, saying, okay, catch the wave, Coke is better than Pepsi. That's just marketing. But it's more or less, I want you to think the opposite of how you think, because how you may be thinking now is detrimental to me. So I'm trying to stay ahead. So I want you to think in my direction and not your own, because that's what people always talk about, narcissists and people that are narcissistic, because they want everything about self. So when I can get self introduced into the narrative, now everything has to be about me. I have to be the smartest person in the room. It has to be my idea. And I can get, if I can twist it to get you to think, and then you're like, oh yeah, you're right. Then I got you. I got what I wanted. I feed that, I can't find it, that ego.
So just to make sure that I'm clear, because I still want to get back to the original question. So you're saying that it must be some type of factual evidence.
Yes.
Okay, some type of evidence. I think that's the key, right? It has to be some type of evidence, and then I am attempting to distort the evidence with a twist, some type of slick phrase or some type of contortion of the information. Is that what I'm grasping?
Definitely.
Okay, so back to my original question: is it wrong to ask questions in relation to the evidence? Case in point, because I want to make sure we're clear, because I think sometimes we need to define holistically what a thing is. And just because somebody asks a question, that does not define it as gaslighting. It could just simply be curiosity. So if a person asks a question about the facts, are they wrong for asking questions about the facts?
Definitely not.
Okay.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got to ask questions. Like if I'm somewhere and I'm walking in the store and people start following me around, I'm like, okay, well, I will ask. But do you follow all your parishioners around? Do you follow everybody around?
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Yeah. Like, hey, so you got to ask those questions.
Okay. So
Is there
no, go ahead.
Is there such thing as different facts? And what I mean by that is this: like, you can look on one hand and you'll see facts, there's data, there's statistics, and then there's other facts, and there's data and there's statistics. That both sides have their data, they have their statistics, but how they displayed their data, they both look right. So I've seen data, I've seen statistics, I got some degrees. And one of the things is, nothing wrong with challenging data. I can manipulate data. I've heard, I remember when I'll just say it. I remember when Kevin Samuels was talking about data, and he was talking about, a certain amount of percentage of women, about 80% of women are the ones who file for divorce, right? And then, I remember hearing other people say, well, he didn't poll me. Who got asked these questions? I was never in no survey. But there's no poll that's 100%. You're never going to be able to poll every single person in the world. So if you know anything about collecting data, they take a portion size and then they extrapolate that out into the whole population of whatever. So it's just a small sample size. And based off their data, that's what it says. But then you have other people say, well, that ain't true. And I don't believe that. And maybe it's not, maybe it is. But like I said, I'm just saying that to say that even with data and information, it can be manipulated. And I could be wrong about this one, but even with the books of the Bible, wasn't it certain books of the Bible taken out? So it's like, okay, even with that. So why did you take certain books out? How can you say that I should believe in this, but you know, what are you hiding from me? Why did you take it out? What did you not want me to see? You know what I'm saying? And if you didn't want me to see that, then what else in this book may or may not be accurate. So I ain't gonna get off too much on my tangent. I don't want to step on nobody's toes, but that's just where I went with the whole data piece, and still trying to unpack this and try to understand. Now, hopefully, I'm not gaslighting anybody, or I'm not too far off topic.
No, you're good. You're good. Ro, you had something you was about to say.
Yeah, because I like where it went, because when it comes to gaslighting, the person doing it has to have additional facts. But what they twist, you can twist facts to suit your narrative. Because if you believe a thing, like say when I was talking about the store, if yes, I'm following you, but then I can say, I can bring up, well, these people from this age, from this demographic, are the ones that's been known to steal from this store. So yes, we target them to follow them around. So now I'm justifying a reason to harass you and making you think it should be okay, simply because it's happened before somewhere. And now I'm just twisting that to throw it out there to say, hey, you look like those people that have stolen before, so I'm gonna follow you around and make you feel the guilt. Yes, sir.
No, you're good. So to that point, I'm glad you said that. Bring up Lisa's statement, please. Or a question, I'm sorry. So gaslighting is used as a form of manipulation, which means if the individual believes what they're saying, although it may be in error, that wouldn't be gaslighting, would it? So that's a question.
If they believe what they're saying or the other person.
I know I don't know the answer.
Which means, so if an individual believes what they are saying, even though what they're saying is in error, that wouldn't be gaslighting. If they believe what they're saying.
To me, it don't sound like it, but I could be wrong. So please do not take my word as the gospel.
What they're saying is not true. It's not factual.
No, what they're saying, they really do believe what they're saying.
But it's not true.
It might be an error, but they believe what they're saying.
Well, you still got to parse it out. You still got to come to a conclusion about what's factual and what's not. Because like when I was training soldiers, you were always taught to believe half of what the soldier tell you. So like half a half, like, so I'm believing a quarter of what they tell me. Yeah, because they twist the story. By the time it get back to you, they were trying to help somebody out. No, y'all always drunk and you was doing this, but you trying to tell me differently. And since I have partial facts, you're trying to shape my view of the whole.
Yeah. And so I think that's different than what she's saying, because her idea is that if the individual believes it, in that scenario, they know what they're saying is a non-fact, but they're intentionally manipulating the information for you to believe what they want you to believe. That is a clear sign and textbook definition of manipulation. But if the person really do believe that what they believe they're saying is factual, is it gaslighting, even though it might be error?
No,
I don't think so.
I couldn't say that it's
factual,
because if they're in error,
the intent,
and I'm bringing correction, then that's why I always say, when you bring me something, let's parse it out. Don't just bring it to me and expect for me to believe. You know, we have conversations.
Right.
And you got to show me. I'm from Missouri. You got to show me, and then once I see it, like, oh, okay. Because until then, I'm Mike Tyson in the corner. I'm fighting. I'm like, no, I don't believe that. You got to show me.
Mr. Bobbin and weaving up there, boy. So I think that's the key. Like, and like Adrian is saying here, if you know you're manipulating, wouldn't that be like introducing alternative facts? No. Wait, hold on. Back up. If you know you're manipulating, wouldn't it be like it can be, but if you're introducing alternative facts for the sake of manipulating, then yes, I will agree with that. But the notion, just the very notion of manipulating by itself, is me trying to get you to do or believe something that I want you to believe, right? It does not take into account your ability to think and process information, so forth and so on. Now, when I hear the information that you presenting to me, I still have the right to ask questions about the information. I think a lot of times what most people want, and I'm just a messenger. I think what most people want, just take what I say for face value and let it be. I don't want you to question it. I don't even want you to have any feedback about it. Just take it. And if I ask a question about it, and here's the other side to it. If I ask a question that puts you in a space to where you may feel a little anxious, right? You may experience a little anxiety about the question that I ask you, then the automatic, well, you're doing this now. So that's the thing I'm trying to make sure that we understand. I do believe wholeheartedly that gaslighting is a thing. It is manipulation, true enough. But I think a lot of times we need to question reality. Is it really this or is it not this? And you're just saying this because at the end of the day, it's like saying, oh, you're controlling. It's like saying, oh, he is whatever other phrases. And
misogynist.
right. And if we're being completely clear, just like we learned a few years ago, there are certain terms that have been tied to men that's not a gender-based term. It is a people-based term. So narcissism is not a male trait, right? Gaslighting is not a male trait. It is a people trait. And if we search ourselves and be completely honest, everybody has done it to some degree. That's why I'm asking questions to this point. Everybody has done it. Everybody probably still, there's a lot of people who still probably doing it unbeknownst to them, because at the end of the day, when the walls start closing into you, we do like rolling through, we start bobbing and weaving, right? And that's what people do. It is what it is. And I think holistically, if we really stop and think about it, it's not that somebody say, hey, let me teach you how to gaslight. I don't think nobody has ever did that. Not, at least not to me, right? But it is something that is innate in your DNA that says, hey, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want you to respond in such a way to, I don't want to have to deal with that right now. So what they do in a state of fear, and I'm not saying it's the right thing, what they do in the state of fear is they try to contort and manipulate and sidestep just so that I dodged that bullet, like Roller said earlier. So that's why I'm really grilling on the notion, the idea of gaslighting. Gaslighting is a thing. It is real. The key is intent. If the person is intentionally trying to manipulate you, that's the key. So if it's not intent and it's unintentional, it might be a behavior that needs to be addressed, but it's not gaslighting. It's just bad behavior. And sure, we can put titles on anything. And it's just, for me, I think manipulation is good enough. That's just my take on it. It is what it is. I promise you, I'm not going to walk around saying, oh, well, you're gaslighting. Oh, you're stonewalling. Oh, no, I'm not doing all that. It's manipulation. Let's just understand it as that. You know what I'm saying? But when we start breaking down different terms into this and this, it's not that people aren't intelligent enough to understand what those terms mean. It's just that, why do I need to do that when manipulation is manipulation is manipulation? That's all it is. It's just like I said when I got the job at the cyber school. Do you know how to do targeting? Yeah. Targeting is targeting is targeting. I don't care where you go. Targeting is targeting. I can target out in the natural space. I can target for the military. I can target for a Fortune 500 company. It is what it is. Once you learn the technique, you just do it. So I think that's my take when it comes down to it as we press forward. But we're still going to unpack this. But like Paul, I will not have us leave away from here ignorant, right? Just assuming that it's its own separate thing. It is not, I promise. So that said, there are 4 types of gaslighting. You got lying, right? And we understand that lying, I don't necessarily like that term, it falls in 2 forms. It is the false representation of reality, or it is the omission of information as it pertains to reality. That's number 1. Number 2, you have the manipulation of reality, or the contortion like we were just talking about. You also have a term called scapegoating. Now, gentlemen, I'm gonna ask you, and if you don't, that's okay. Does anybody know what scapegoating is?
You make someone, most likely them, the object of whatever's wrong.
The fall guy.
Right.
Bingo. Right. Scapegoating comes from, really, it's more of a biblical term, to where like you would take a goat and you make the goat accountable for all your sins, then they would throw him off the cliff. Right. So he would bear all the sins and throw him off the cliff. Thank you, Michelle. Say again?
Did it still work? I was thinking about giving me some goats.
No, I don't think so, bro. Okay. They're good for milk and they're good for cheese and meat. That's it. And the last one, thank you, Michelle Ray, is coercion, right? And so I think most of us understand that coercion is the use of force to create, a one-sided reality.
What was the second one, Coach?
The second one was manipulation of reality. Manipulation of reality, right? You see this as a fact. You say this is a white coffee cup. White coffee cup. You sure this is white? I think it's more of a tan coffee cup.
Oh,
so it's not. Yeah, I know you're saying this. This is more of a tan coffee cup, right? So I need you adopt that as it is. This is tan, not white, right? And then so the more I keep telling you that, then you accept it. But I think the key that we have to understand is that I know we understand, and thank you, Lisa, you was in my head. I know we understand when we look at those 4 types. I know a big one is not telling the truth or lying, but we also have to understand is that lying and omission is the exact same thing. And a lot of times we give ourselves more credit because we omitted something thinking that, oh, that makes me, a better person or whatever the case may be. But this person downright lie and say, oh, that person's such a terrible person. That person, no, trust me, you're on the same playing field. If you omit information and you lie about information, it is the exact same thing. So we need to understand just those talking points as we go on. Let me see. Yeah, go ahead. What you got?
All right. So I think I may have an example of what I think might be gaslighting, or this could be just manipulation. So I want you guys to help me out with this one. So say for instance, a man, not me, a man comes home from work and he's tired and he's like, oh, I just want to lay down and relax. And I don't really want to be bothered tonight. Right. So he just goes in his office or whatever, he just lays down, whatever, and then his wife texts him or whatever, or the girlfriend or the lady, whoever, and be like, oh, well, you never want to spend time with me. You just don't want to be bothered with me tonight. You know what I mean? Is that a form, or is that an example of gaslighting? Because I think those are some of the things that I have. One example of something that I vaguely remember, which was identified or called gaslighting. So I just want to know from you guys or somebody else. Oh, you looking at Roland?
I like that scenario for real. Is that a form of gaslighting?
Because to me, it's like manipulation.
It's a form of manipulation.
Yeah.
But the person, I will know that they still want me to, because they're not trying to change my view on it. They just want me to do what they want me to do. Like I gaslighted my grandkids the other day because they wanted to go to a restaurant. I'll tell you. And I said, that restaurant closed. They close on Sunday and they wanted some Chick-fil-A. They close on Sunday and I think they close right now. Unbeknownst to me, all them jokers got little devices. Boop, boop, boop. No, it ain't closed, Papa. Yeah. I'm trying to lie to them.
Can you gaslight correctly in 2024?
But your scenario, I think that's a form of mental manipulation, but it's not trying to change my view on it because they know I still don't want to do it. I'm just they want to play the manipulation game for the sensitive side and then it can turn into something else, but I wouldn't call it gaslighting.
So if I do that if that scenario plays out on a consistent or a regular basis, it happens often, do you think that, once that happens after a certain amount of times, would that be kind of considered gaslighting? Like, does gaslighting, is it like time sensitive? Like, is there a certain amount of time that goes into manipulation for it's kind of considered gaslighting? Coach, I think he said no, but
I think it's considered.
No.
I just think the person is just spoiled. That's all it is. I would say it like this. Keep in mind, it is a very intentional act of manipulation designed to, and I'm stressing this piece. It is designed to make the other person feel crazy about the information that they actually have, right? In that particular scenario, which I do love, that particular scenario, that person just wants you to not do what you said based upon how you feel, so you can give them what they want. That's it.
But that's
Conversation.
manipulation, though, right?
That is manipulation. Especially when they start talking about you always, you never. That's all or nothing thinking, right?
Yeah.
So all or nothing thinking is a clear sign that it is they're trying to manipulate you. So that's why I say we gotta learn how to have these hard conversations, these difficult. Like when you hear terms like that is an automatic say, "Skirt, let's have a conversation." Because if we do not, every time, right, every time you hear those terms, like that's what that person is accustomed to doing, right? And I can guarantee you, it's probably not something that somebody taught them. It's just kind of like what we picked up as bad habits. And a lot of times we don't know we have these bad habits until somebody reveal it to us. That was on the scenario you had.
Yeah, that was it,
Okay,
man.
all right. I want to make sure I give credence to everything that everybody got tonight, because I want this to be a honest and open conversation. Listen, for everybody who is joining us, listen, I want to make sure that we respect your time, and I want to make sure that you get your questions there. So by all means, if you have questions that you've already seen, ask the questions. We don't mind answering. Also, whatever platform you're on, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're on X, whether you're on Instagram, or whether you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button wherever you are. Go ahead and hit the like, hit the love button, whatever you want to do. And then if you don't mind, share it with somebody else so that we can get this information out. So that said, I want to kind of move on to the next question. Well, I'm sorry, did we finish the backside of did we ever get to the answer in the first question, all of it? And how does it differ from other forms of psychological manipulation? I think we kind of touched on it briefly. It is a very intentional thing to try to make with the intent on making a person think they're crazy. The next question is, in what ways have societal attitudes towards gaslighting changed as awareness of the concept has grown? And I'm go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think people tend to cross things over and make everything gaslighting when it just may be like, if I disagree with you, I'm not gaslighting you because I have different facts and I'm trying to question the scenario to see if it's valid. That's me trying to make sure everything is on the up and up. But I think that in society, anytime you disagree with me or you see something that's different, you say, "Oh, you trying to gaslight me." I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm trying to get an understanding. And if I ask questions that you aren't prepared for, it's not on me. It's on you to get prepared, because I'm not trying to deceive you. I think that's the portion that we leave out. If the purpose is deception, the purpose is me to survive where I am, then it may be gaslighting. But if it's just mere questioning and mere trying to state facts or gain facts, then that's exactly what it is.
I will like I said, I'm still learning about this, but I would say it's this. I think, as we've moved forward and this um concept of this term has been used a lot more. I think what it has done, it has created um shows, conversations like this has opened up for more people to talk about it, to really find out exactly what it is, and how it can be detrimental, like everything we're doing right here tonight. You know what I mean? I think that, whenever you have something that's, like the question said, awareness as the of the concept as it growing and stuff like this, I think you're always going to have people who are going to come out and have conversations to try to figure out exactly what it is. Like I said, sporadically certain things will pop up on my feed, on my FYP, and it'll be some conversation. Like I said, I'll look through the comments and it'll say something about gaslighting. So and I think if you look at it, I don't think most people knew that it started, thanks to whoever posted that um thing, that's saying that it started from that play. Like most people are like, I didn't know that. So it's like, it started there, and then this is where it is right now. You know, I think in 1938 they were still on black and white TVs and stuff like that. So things have changed a lot, you know, and I don't know. I think just, you know, it just opened up, you know, more platforms and more conversations for people to have, to people to talk about.
I agree. I'm a, so I'm agreeing with everything that you said. It has brought awareness, um, but then I will also say that it also brought, like, what I tend to believe is a hypersensitivity to a thing that already existed. Um, and again, it's not dismissing. I want to make sure I say that I'm not dismissing anybody's notion about gaslighting. But what I am saying is that everything can't be gaslighting when manipulation existed for years. Just like every person can't be a narcissist when selfish behavior always existed, right? So I think a lot of times, and I'm just going to say it like this, I don't really care. If injects of new information in social media, on the internet, so forth and so on, those injects will cause you to focus on this thing. And then when you focus on this thing, you tend to reach back into your history and say, let me look at this, 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 right? Well, now because I can focus on this and look back at my history, then I can relate to it, which is fine. But then from that point on, that becomes the forward thought on your mind moving forward. So anytime, that's the first idea that comes to mind. And so I believe a lot of times when we look at, societal attitudes toward this particular term, it was kind of like, and I kind of mentioned it previously, I believe it was the exact same way when sexual harassment was, when we first got awareness of what sexual harassment was. It's not that sexual harassment didn't exist. It's just that we now have an idea that, hey, this is not good. This is against the law. And everything became that. And then it went from sexual harassment to sexual assault. And then next thing you know, you have the fear of. Okay. So that's the repercussion of the thing. So first you get awareness, then you get the hypersensitivity, then you get the fear of a thing. And so I think that becomes systemic because now on the other side, from the hypersensitivity, you'll have people that have the fear of this particular term, the fear of gaslighting. And so now it becomes like we're looking at each other and seeing which one of us can call gaslighting first. You see what I'm saying? And so because of the hypersensitivity of a particular thing, it really stands in the way of what I tend to call authentic connection, because we're looking at the other person so we can identify wrong instead of appreciating the experience of being in another person, appreciating the experience of being another person's presence, and then just enjoying life. And that's just kind of like my thoughts. Roland, I think did I strike a nerve, bro?
Yeah, you struck a nerve when you were saying that, because a lot of people, like over the past few years, we've seen a lot of people that they call Karens. Once something happened, they automatically switch what you were doing, and now they're the victim. Where they came getting all up in your business, why you barbecuing in the park? Why you walking around doing this? And it's like they're attacking you, and when you challenge them, they switch it, and that, oh, he's attacking me. So now they change the narrative, and they try to play on and tug the heartstrings of people to say, this, I'm the victim here. And that's one of the ways that they also gaslight.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I say struck a nerve, I not that's kind of like that I connect with something. That's what we're talking about. Go ahead, on.
Yeah, I'm listening to this, and it seems like people can. It seems like it's an easy out. It's easy to say you're gaslighting me. I'm offended now. You know what I mean? And it's like it's almost like a conversation stopper. You know what I mean? If two people are having a conversation, and it could be even productive. You know what I mean? I guess I'm speaking to the negative side of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
As we look at this question, and it's like now we can't go forward with the conversation, but because now you have this word that has been out there for a last long time, but more recognizable recently. Now you have ammunition. Now you can say, "Oh well, now I can say this, or I can do this," and then if you come back at me, or if you try to say anything or your reality to me, then now I can say you're gaslighting and I can shut the conversation down. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
that's cool. I think
And
it can be a conversation stopper just by bringing that term up. Just like, you know, like even talking about with the sexual harassment, like, you know, when that term kind of came out, like everything fell up under it. And like someone said, like that term is that the behavior has always been around, but it wasn't a term that was associated with the behavior. So, you know, everything you said, man, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to kind of bring up Shell's comment. I hate I missed it earlier because I like her. I like what she says here. Let me see. Oh no, the other one. Sorry about that. You see it? I had it highlighted earlier. Okay. Um, she said, I think it's when the manipulator, right, tries to change the thinking of the person being gaslighted, and it requires them to start questioning their own judgments. And I like what she says, and she's absolutely correct. But in conjunction with what she is saying, I think a lot of times what we need to understand is that my own judgment I should always question my own judgment. I should always be in the space. Like that's why I love the title of this platform, Empowering Perspectives. Because if I ever come to the conversation, think that my only perspective, that my perspective alone is reality, then I miss the value of connections, right? If I can't accept what he is saying, accept what he is saying, and take what they're saying to question my perspective, then I will always push back on what somebody else thinking that what I'm thinking is correct. So she is absolutely correct. That's exactly what it is. The issue with it that I want everybody to understand is that when we accept this as a reality, right, then what we're indirectly saying is that you can't question anything that I'm saying, right? Even though the evidence, right, even though I can present the evidence here, but sometimes, like Uncle Junior said, facts look different to different people. And so it's imperative that we always question the facts. And we question the facts so that we can analyze the facts so that we can have a clear understanding of reality. And if you're saying that I can't ask you any questions about your little precious mug, right? My precious. If you're saying I can't ask any questions about that, then we got a problem. We got a real big problem when we start living in a society, going back to the question, when we start living in a society to where the society says that you can't ask any questions about the information that we portray. And I'm saying this intentionally because I kind of said something earlier about information inject. And if we have the notion that we can't question, then that means that you are automatically wired to accept every bit of information that we send you because you're not going to question it because I've conditioned you to accept it as is. Just my thoughts.
I know in situations where couples have thoughts and then one may ask the other about a friend of the opposite sex, and then they switch it on them instead of answering the question. Oh, you must feel like that because you doing something. Like you ain't even answered the question. We talking about you. Now you switching it on me.
Right.
Ain't got nothing to do with this scenario, but you just flip flopped it on me, thinking that I'm gonna bow down because you are challenging me now. And that's one of those ways people, when they will switch it and put the blame on you and say, well, I guess you probably doing this and you're doing that, instead of dealing with the question at hand, instead of dealing with the problem that we're trying to discuss. You no longer want to discuss it, so you flip it to make me uncomfortable. Now I just say forget it and leave it alone.
Clear and blatant. Yes.
Guilty.
But did you know it?
Absolutely, I knew it.
Did you
I
know it
knew
was
I was being manipulative. I did not know
it was
scapegoat. I mean, I did not know it was gaslighting. I knew it was being manipulative. I knew I was trying to get my way. Now, I'm speaking way back in the day. I'm speaking first marriage. Yeah, very manipulative. About certain things. Yeah, definitely guilty of that.
Yeah.
didn't know it
And
was gaslighting.
now,
But
another,
bro, like if you need to get out of something, like let's just call a spade a spade. What did he tell us? Take it to your grave, brother. You lie, you flip it, manipulate it. I ain't the only one on this panel, but you know what? Everybody, you just look away and whatever you want to do. But
you ain't,
man,
you ain't the only
well,
one listening to this video. I'm
I
just
ain't
telling the truth.
exactly. Well, you say not you guys. I don't know what you guys past life was, but I know that there was something that I was guilty of, and there was also something that she was guilty of. You know what I mean? I think that you know, I think in relationships, man, I think when you are immature in relationships, it happens a lot.
Right.
And when I say immature, it don't have anything to do with your age. I think you can be married for 20 years and still be immature in your relationship if you hadn't got past certain things. If you're still doing stuff like that, like, oh, you don't want to be around me, like you still flipping around stuff after 10 years, 15 years, bigger issues going on there. But the whole time we were talking, I kept thinking about like this seems like something that goes on in relationships like all the time, and maybe that's why every time, well, a lot of the times it kept popping up on social media, it was always you battle between like men and women in most cases. It was always somebody arguing or something like that, so it's kind of funny to me how it kind of came all the way back around to this in the last 57 minutes, so yeah, I'm enjoying the show, man. I'm enjoying unpacking this whole thing and everything that you guys have said so far, and everything that the chat has, kind of schooled me on too. I've been learning a lot just from looking at the chat. So,
Absolutely. And again, I like the fact that you said that, but I also want to be transparent. No one is void of it. Everybody has had some form of, and probably still yet to this day, still have a form of manipulation in them. Whether it's
man, we
gas,
learned how to do it when we was kids to get out
yeah,
of trouble.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Ma, that wasn't me. I ain't like we learned how to manipulate long time ago. We learned how to do it as a baby, right? When we were crying, your mom stick a ball in our mouth. We learned how to manipulate our parents day one out the womb. You know what I mean?
Hey, Adam
So
tried it.
we got better at it.
So what now?
Adam said it was that woman you gave me, guy. He tried it.
He tried it.
But did he lie?
I mean, that part too. Hey, I guess both things can be true.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, I ain't asked. I'm just playing.
but to your point, I understand what you're saying, and I'm agreeing with you, Roland. I'm just joking. But to the point, again, I'm stressing we're not taking away from the reality of gaslighting. I don't want anybody to perceive that, but I also want us to understand that I want everybody to understand that the thing that you focus on is the thing that you give energy to. The thing that you give energy to is the thing that you're actually going to continue to see. And so, again, I don't believe, and there's people who believe totally different. I don't believe that there's anything. I don't think there's any such thing as a bad person. There's only bad behavior in the person. And sometimes some people don't know that their behavior exists until you inform them of it. Okay. Now, I will say this: if you have a situation where a person is blatantly trying to put you in a mental hospital, leave. I'm gonna say that outright. Leave. Because at the end of the day, that person is intentionally trying to do damage to you psychologically. And that said, I want to jump into the signs and symptoms of being gaslighted. So, what are some of the most common signs that someone might be? Who knows? What are some of the most common signs that someone might be experiencing gaslighting, and how can individuals recognize these signs in their own relationships? We talked about some already.
I think when
go
go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I go first. That way I can get something out because I've been lagging. Hey, so these ain't mine. A nice young lady by the name of Shell. She's been very active tonight. She even sent me something while we was talking earlier. So she gave me some examples of gaslighting. So fortunate for me, I got something to say. So she gave me like 6 of them. I'm only going to say about 3 of them. So one was questioning someone's memory. Another one was refusing to take responsibility for their action and using now which one I want to use? Belittling or disregarding someone's feelings. Those are the 3 of the 6 that she sent me. So those are my guy. Questioning someone's memory, refusing to take responsibility for their actions, and belittling or disregarding someone's feelings. What do y'all think before I bless off and say they're accurate? Because I hadn't researched or fact checked these things. Sound pretty accurate.
Say the last one again.
Belittling or disregarding someone's feelings.
See, that's the only one
Yeah.
that gives me pause, because that is a
Yeah.
subjective, that is a very subjective notion. And you can believe that I'm disregarding your feelings if I don't do what you want me to do. If that makes sense.
But what about the belittling part?
Yeah, belittling, definitely. I agree with that one.
Yeah, I do the belittling.
But
what about using negative stereotypes against someone? Now, I'm not questioning y'all. There was just
no. I'm trying to think of scenarios to where they actually fit in. That's what I'm doing in my head. Just okay. So let me back up. Let me say it like this: just the individual notions by themselves, belittling negative stereotypes or disregarding someone's feelings. Those aren't gaslightings alone. Now they can be put into scenarios to where it can be gaslighting. That part I agree wholeheartedly. But just those alone, that's just a display of bad behavior. You need to go seek counseling. If I got to belittle you to talk to you, I need to go find somebody who can help me learn how to talk better. If I am just disregarding your emotions, maybe your emotions were not best for my family, our family. And sometimes you're emotional about a thing that we had decided about in the planning for our future. And what you want me to make a decision on right now isn't important for what we are currently working on, even though we just talked about this last week. So there's a number of different ways. Like, I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but I'm saying that in the right context, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So to answer this question, I'm going to stick with one. And I'm going to answer by saying questioning someone's memory. If I would have to put that, I have been in that situation before where, someone has questioned. I'm just like, man, I know, and they like questioning my memory. It's like, bro, I know what I remember. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily saying that that's gaslighting, but I can recall, that a partial memory or where someone was questioning my memory about something in order to get something, in order to manipulate me to get something that they wanted. Yeah. So I can definitely see how questioning someone's memory could be gaslighting.
I think that part, what you just said on the backside, is what makes it that. It's not the fact that they question your memory, because a lot of times you only remember your version of reality. Because like I said, you don't have a holistic perspective of reality. You only have a perspective of reality, which looks like a small piece of the pie. So if I am questioning what you remember, that doesn't make it gaslighting. But if I am questioning what you remember with the intent on making you like, and I'm not saying questioning and like making you question it, but like for the sake of getting something in return, whether I want to be cleared from this conversation that you want to have, whether I want to make you feel crazy because I say, well, she's just my friend. You know what I'm saying? But the body language says something totally different. So when you seen her, us together like 10 weeks ago eating lunch and we giggling and all that other great stuff, and it kind of looked like we extra friendly. And then when you seen something later, and so now you want to bring it to the question, to the table, and I'm talking to you like, oh, no, that's just my friend. We was just having lunch. That's a friendly business lunch. That wasn't no business lunch, bro. Like, your body language is telling all on you. So that's totally different in that particular scenario. Absolutely 2 thumbs up. But again, like I said, there are some things that we need to question, because what we'll do, because here's the adverse effect of that. If I don't allow you to question the memory of my past, then everything I've been through in my past should be my reality. Therefore, my past should create my now. You understand what I'm saying? And I can tell you wholeheartedly as a coach, I questioned several people members. So, like I say, it all depends upon the context that you put it in. Go ahead, Ro. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add blaming. When you, I know situational things happen, and when you blame a person for something that negatively affected them and make it their fault, oh, you shouldn't have been wearing that. If you weren't wearing that short skirt, this wouldn't have happened to you. And he's just a man, or she's just this. So you make the victim into the perpetrator almost. So and that's when you playing on their psyche. So now they're thinking, man, if I would have had a skirt on down to my ankles, and if that dude wouldn't have had that tight shirt on, or whatever it may be, then they wouldn't have become the victim. So
I like it. I like it. I'm gonna throw my I'm gonna throw my injects in there as well, in conjunction with what you're saying. Now, we already mentioned lying, blatant lying. Gaslighters may tend to set the stage with a blatant lie, hoping that their victim will again accept whatever they say. So you can preposition the thing that you're getting ready to do, if that makes sense. So I can lie, like me and I just seen a movie the other day. It's called Ricky Stenicki. It's a stupid movie. I look at stupid movies like this sometimes. Well, they made up this dude, right? They made up a fake friend, and the fake friend that they made up, and it's been years that the fake friend existed. Nobody ever met Ricky, by the way. But so what they would do is they would use the fake friend as a reason for all of them to get together and have a boys' night out, right? So that's kind of like a perfect example of setting a stage with a lie to do something only because you're making them believe this thing. And so at a certain point, obviously, it came to bear. And so, they had to kind of own up to it. Next,
it was me.
That was
It was me. I had my life planned out months ahead of time.
Next.
That's all I got to say about
so
that.
You got Shell. He ain't that person no more, Shell. He ain't that person. I just want to put that out there.
No. I'm done with that.
Yeah, man. The next one I would say is, and this is the huge one, denial despite evidence. Now, when you are confronted with the evidence, it is your responsibility to respond to the evidence, not try to create a story around the evidence to make the person believe that the evidence that they clearly see, that they have in their hand, that they got records. I got text messages, right? All the when you start to craft a story to try to soften the blow of the thing, that is like one of the most obvious and common forms of gaslighting. Instead of just owning up to it, talking about it, and getting it out the way. Talked about manipulation and confusion, also the use of confusion as a tool to destabilize others, right? Projecting their behavior onto you, which is a huge one. Let me say that part, a huge one. Projecting their behavior onto you is huge. If they're cheating, for instance, I'm just going to use that as an example because that's everybody's talking point. If they're cheating, for example, they may accuse their significant other for doing it simply because they may see a thing and they will automatically say, well, you must be doing this. So that's an example of gaslighting. And last but not least, turning others against their victim. They often tell others that their victim is crazy, effectively isolating them and strengthening their control. Those are the signs and symptoms that I have of gaslighting. Thoughts, questions, feedback. Curious before we dive on with this.
So it's has a lot to do with control. At the
It is
end of
all
the day,
about control.
manipulation and control.
Absolutely.
Because you only manipulate to gain some sort of control or some sort of advantage, whether it be to not get caught or whether it be to whatever else. You know what I'm saying? So Man, I've been enjoying it here. I'm saying that for Chris and myself tonight in his absence.
And people who are articulate and think, it's easy to do it because it's like, okay, let me manipulate this situation where it's beneficial to me. And I'm gonna say some words, I'm gonna throw some big words out there, and I know ain't nobody gonna go look them up. And next thing you know, I'm sitting in the catbird seat, so I'm good to go. Versus, like, if man, me, Unc, and Coach, we was out till 3 o'clock in the morning, knowing I left them jokers at 11. And then I'm gonna bring them into it, knowing they not gonna be questioned about it.
Just call me first.
See,
Not me. I ain't lying.
Hey,
Look, I
when I
told my
was-
friend, look, don't put me in nothing because I'm telling the truth.
Hey,
I
that's
ain't
how we
lying.
used to do. Hey, man,
Look,
make sure you
hey,
let me
I
know
tried-
first.
I left rolling at 11 o'clock. I don't know what him Coach did. I'm out.
Man, I was in the bed sleep one time, and one of the fellow NCOs, and I hope he's not watching. If he is, he know what it is. But he called me like 2:30 in the morning. Talking about, hey man, my old lady gonna be calling you. I was with you, and I fell asleep over there. We was drinking. I'm like, Negro, I ain't seen you all weekend, but I'm glad she ain't called me. And then I'm like, cause I hate the lying part. Like, I don't have me lying.
Yeah.
It's called voicemail. That's all it is.
Bruh.
Voicemail. If I see
But back
listen.
then it was good back then because you just you just put remember we had the message, we had the little tape in it and stuff.
Listen, I'm a lot better these days. Back in the days, I wouldn't talk to your lady at all. I'm sorry. Period. Point blank. If she called me, it went straight to voicemail. I'm gonna call you and say, hey man, your lady called me. That's just it. Because that, to me, that's how you avoid confusion. And that's, again, that was back then. Now I talk to her, then I call you and say, hey man, she called me. Just so that you still gonna get the phone call.
I ain't talking to none of them.
Well, I view them as my sisters.
Okay,
So
well,
if
yeah,
they
y'all
call
had that
me,
relationship,
right?
Okay.
So if they call me, they're calling me for a reason, right?
Well,
And
you
it
know
might
what?
be
That's
for you.
the truth.
Yeah.
I'm a lying. I had my, I don't know if he watching or not. Well, we know the story. That joker called me. His wife called me. Wife ain't never called me before, ever. Me and him, we've been friends forever, over 30 years. And his wife called me talking about, man, your friend over here. But I mean, he had too much substance. So it was 2:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. So he was out. But yeah, so I would answer the phone. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, man. It's all about the respect that I give them. Okay, psychological impact of gaslighting. I think this is key. So next is, what psychological and emotional impacts do these signs and symptoms have on individuals over time?
Mental breakdown, maybe. Emotional damage. Man, really, but for real though, I think that it can destroy your relationship at the end of the day. I think that, in the long term, it can have, you can end up in a psych ward somewhere. Like, anytime you are being manipulative and stuff like that, I think the person on the receiving end of that, especially maybe even while they going through it, especially, I think, what am I trying to say? I think that it can be very damaging, especially when you are constantly in a state of mind to where you're questioning your own reality. If you're like, hey, I'm this way, but you're in constant, you just don't know which way is up, and it's because someone is manipulating you or gaslighting you, I think that can have very long-term effects in your overall mental health and your trust. And even if you make it out of that relationship and then you moving forward, I think that if you don't get it fixed, I think that it can spill over into your future relationships and stuff. And I'm not even necessarily talking about just relationships between two people as a romantic relationship. I think that relationships in general. I think that jobs can be affected, careers can be affected. So I just think that they can have a long-term mental and even physical. Because a lot of times when we have deal with mental things, it can display itself in our physical bodies. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
I think when it comes to self-confidence, it will take away self-confidence because when a person will make it seem like I'm the best thing you can get. And then they always putting you down. And it's like Mr. on The Color Purple. You're black, you're ugly. Yeah, he just was putting her down. When you beat you beat a person down so much that they see themselves through your lens versus what the mirror says. And they take on that aspect of how they are in their behavior. So when it comes to the self-confidence or Lise Key said isolation, depression, all of that. So now I'm recluse. I sit to myself because nobody wants to be bothered with me because I'm always down. And now I start to use other substances. I may start smoking and drinking and all those behaviors because I'm not satisfied with self. So I need that person and that person only validation to make me feel any type of way.
Yeah, definitely. I will also add to this as well, and I think this is this is key. You've heard earlier in the chats as well, to where a person starts to question their sanity. Like, it gets to the point that over a period of time, they start wondering and start questioning whether or not they have the ability to, like, clearly see reality. And don't get me wrong, I think that's a necessary thing for us to do for ourselves, right? But I think when we do it from the perspective of everything I present to you is wrong, I ain't gonna tell you what the other side of the wallet say. But everything I show you is wrong. That's wrong too. That's not a blue cup. Okay, well, cool. You mean to tell me this thing isn't black? Okay, cool. Like, when everything that I thought I knew, now you're telling me that everything is that I'm saying that I'm seeing is wrong, then they start to question their sanity. Once you start questioning their sanity, they're going to start questioning a lot of other things. So I think ideally, if we're going to be in that growth space, which requires us to question our reality that we brought up to this point, then it has to be done in a very respectful manner. This is why everybody should not be attempting to do it. And there's a lot of people who are trying to do a thing that they're not equipped to do. And what they're doing is damaging people, and it really looks more like a bad relationship. And I like Uncle Junior. I like the fact that you mentioned that it's not just male and female interaction, it's interactions, period. So whether we're talking friends, whether we're talking employee versus employer, whether we're talking this organization and this organization, whether we're talking the particular, what I like to call the entity, right? And how they deal with their people. I'm just saying, I would tell you, and I don't really care because I'm going to talk about it all next month anyway. One of the biggest manipulative tactics that we've ever experienced is called money. And this thing called inflation that just keeps going up and down. So it kind of deceives you about what it is and its value. So anyway, as it relates to the psychological and emotional effects, it can be debilitating. It can be frustrating. It could be, it's almost worse than a physical effect, because psychological effects have physical and emotional effects, right? So when we look at these things, I think we need to understand it is definitely huge. It's bigger than just, hey, me getting out of trouble. No, it's way bigger than that. It is to the point that you can tear a person down over a prolonged period of time to such a degree that they can't function in their best manner. And think about it. Did you really get in a relationship with a person for them not to be their best version of themselves? Or did you get in a relationship with a person so that you can have somebody that you can puppet? And that becomes part of the issue. Want to press forward. Roland, do you have something else? I see you over there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's where the terms were birthed, like a high value woman or man, or a alpha man and an alpha woman, because people like to put themselves up on pedestals because of what they have, knowing that their character sucks, their behavior sucks. But since they have substance, when it comes to material substance, they think, oh, I'm a high value man. Everybody wants me. So they tend to put others down and make it seem like they're a gift to the person simply by being in their presence, knowing that they're trash. that's manipulation. That's gaslighting at its best.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, listen, I want to make sure I appreciate you guys in the chat, man. You guys are awesome. We see you guys again. This is, as you can see, this is a in-depth conversation. And trust me, I'm trying to, you know, because if not, this conversation can go on and on and on. Just keep in mind, if you're on YouTube, again, look in the top of the YouTube channel. There's a pinned item up there. If you open that link, and there is a download for you. So that way you can determine if you or anyone else have ever experienced gaslighting or gaslight someone. It is a self-reflective questionnaire. Again, that's free to you. So again, thank you guys for being here. Moving on to our last question, strategies for addressing gaslighting. And I just want to touch on the last one real quick. What are, no, the one above that one. What are the first steps? What are the first steps someone should take when they believe they are being gaslighted?
Ask questions. Get the facts straight. When you ask questions, see, I think there's a difference, because I hate being questioned, but I don't mind answering questions. Because when you're being grilled, it's a difference when we're having a discussion and you're talking and I'm talking. But if you just no, we gotta be able to get to the root of the matter without arguing, without fussing. You got to allow me to answer the questions before you ask me another question, and that's just a sign of maturity. And I'll start with that.
Lisa Keys.
I don't know. Oh, go ahead. But
Lisa Keys says run.
run. I would say, in addition to that, is to gather information, whether it be from that person or probably from an outside. And I guess that if you with that person, I guess that could be on the lines of questioning. But I also think that, just gathering more information about whatever it is that you think you're being gaslighted about, I think will help someone be able to, have a better understanding on whether or not they've been gaslighted and or manipulated at the same time. So it's like whatever's going on, like Roland said, if you start questioning it, and which in a sense is, gathering more information. So maybe I just said the same thing Roland said, but I guess my answer would be just to gather more information.
Or save the blue dress. So when
save the blue dress.
Yeah, when he say, I did not have relations with one Miss Monica Lewinsky, she say, I got the dress. She had facts.
I mean, can you really argue with facts? Did they DNA test that dress? No, I'm saying.
I didn't do the mental connection at first, but I thank you for putting it together for me. The blue dress. I agree. So I think, and this is my take, I think when you are being gaslighted, it's already too late. That's what I'm going to start with. However, after identifying that you're being gaslighted, do exactly what those brothers says. Ask questions, sit down and have a conversation, start to unpack what's actually going on. I think the thing that you must do is you have to establish clear boundaries in the relationship. When you have clearly defined boundaries in the relationship, gaslighting cannot get through. I'm going to say that part again. If you have clearly defined boundaries in your relationship for both of you, right? But boundaries itself, they work for the health of the relationship. Therefore, when it comes down to gaslighting, I got what you no, we're not going to do that, because boundaries have already been established. Once a boundary is breached, and again, go back and look at that conversation that we had, what was it, last Saturday or Saturday before last? Once boundaries are breached, now it's time to have a conversation. If you have a problem with me having conversations with you upon breaching boundaries, I may not necessarily be the person you want to be in close proximity with, because trust me, we fisting to talk about, and I said that intentionally, fisting, F-I-S-N-A. We fisting to talk about this. because it's necessary. And our problem is that we do not feel comfortable in difficult conversations. However, for me, and I can only talk about me, I'm good with difficult conversation. I'm good with having them, right? Why? Because I understand that difficult conversations is literally just us pushing through the comfort zone. And so that's the thing I want to say before we dive into our final thoughts. Listen, greatly appreciate the feedback. Definitely appreciate everybody's response. It's only three of us tonight. So, Unc, we're going to start with you. Then we're going to go on to rolling. And then we're going to say goodbye to you, lovely people, because we greatly appreciate you. So, with that being said, y'all listen up to my funky uncle.
Here coming the funky uncle with the final thought. So tonight we talk about the truth behind gaslighting, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this was a term that is fairly recently new to me over the last couple of years or so. I didn't do a lot of research on the word itself, but today did open my eyes a little bit, and I do have a lot better understanding of the word. In addition to that, I think that this is probably something that happens either gaslighting or manipulating in a lot of relationships, even if it's at a low level. And with that being said, I think that what we should all do is on a consistent basis is to kind of look at ourselves and see if we are victims of this and whether or not we are actually people who may be doing the manipulation part. I think sometimes as we start to get older, we start settling into who we are. And sometimes we didn't correct or fix or some of the behaviors that we may have had in the past, or we may not even be aware. Sometimes life situations can change to where we're in um, a different space in our life, and we may not even know that we are gaslighting or being manipulative, and we may not even recognize if someone is doing that to us. So I think that to kind of end my final thought is, I think it's a good idea for everybody to do a self look at that self assessment at their self and the relationship that they have with people in their life who they care about, and even co-workers, and see if you fall on either side of this gaslighting and or manipulation coin. That's my final thought for the night. You muted.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I think first and foremost, we should set boundaries because it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be any relationship. But when you set boundaries and stick to the facts of whatever the matter is, then communication can be had. And if somebody's going astray from that, they trying to take it a different route. If you're trying to go against the grain of the topic and facts and you getting emotional and you're doing all these things, you're trying to make me believe that your emotion is more important than the facts. So set boundaries, stick to the facts, and don't allow people to manipulate others or yourself. And you shouldn't be manipulating people with facts or without, because when you stick to what's being talked about, this is what we're talking about. I always say we're talking about apples, not oranges. We can talk about oranges later, but right now we have to deal with the apples. And when you deal with that and stay on topic, then you don't have to be manipulated, because it can be as severe as some type of assault, or it could be something like I said I did with my grandkids because I just didn't want to go to Chick-fil-A. So manipulation comes in all shapes and sizes. Just know where you are and tell the truth, because that's one reason. Like, I got a horrible memory, so my lying capabilities went out the window. I got to tell it as is. So if you say I said something, I'm like, nah, I ain't say that. That don't even sound like me, because this is how I think. This is what I believe. So when you come trying to twist what I said, it's easy for me to say no, because this is where I stay. I always tell you, I ain't got to lie. I pay my own mortgage. I'm good. So yeah, that's enough for me.
I greatly appreciate everybody's perspective. I'm gonna I'm going to add on to what they said because I think this is a very important topic. Listen, I wanted to make sure I say this again that we're not dispelling anybody's perspective of gaslighting. We just wanted to add to that, right? Make sure that we expand our awareness because I believe right now, based upon a lot of the information that I've seen, we have a very narrow focus when it comes to gaslighting. Again, I do not believe that there's any such thing as a bad person. I just believe that that person just has bad behavior. And unfortunately, somebody may not have cared about them enough in their life to make them aware of that behavior. That's okay. Be that person, right? Sit down, have conversation with them. Practice self-care on yourself because trust me when I tell you, if you're the one that's being gaslighted, you're going to have to maintain a positive self-image, right? Self-image is everything. And people who get gaslighted, they actually start to have issues with self-image. Well, if you understand how important self-image is, image goes to concept, concept to esteem, and then esteem is how they will actually behave out in social environments. So it becomes huge. So, and it's not just the only thing, it's just one of the things. So you have to like take care of yourself, practice self-care, right? Also, you may look at, kind of surrounding yourself, not with a bunch of people, but just with the people who actually know, love, and care about you. Kind of like the wolf pack we're talking about here, right? So I know at any point in time, I can pick up the phone and talk to Unc. I can pick up the phone and talk to Roll and say, hey, I have a concern I need to talk to you guys about. And if they have the opportunity, space, and time, they will listen wholeheartedly to what I'm actually saying and then give me viable feedback. I think a lot of times we don't necessarily have that in our life. We don't have people who are trustworthy to where we can pick up the phone and call them and have honest, heartfelt conversation to such a degree that they can help me balance my thoughts off of them. And I can't stress the point boundaries, but there's no need to bring it up again because my brother talked about it earlier. So again, listen, I want to thank each and every one of you guys that's on this panel. I want to definitely appreciate everybody that's in the chats because, man, you guys add so much value. We look forward to spending time with you every week we go live. Again, if you are new, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, click the notification button, and don't forget to select all that every time that we go live. In that sheet that I gave you guys, it will have links in there that will take you to www.totalmindsetshift.com. Again, go there, join the community, right? Be a part of the network, participate in some of our conversations because we carry on conversations that add value to the conversations that we have here. And I promise you, there will be a few gaslighting conversations coming up this week. So listen, without further ado, we've gone a little over time. Thank you guys for staying with us. Listen, let the best version of yourself be a blessing to someone else. Have a great weekend.